So I've always wanted to be a part of things that are bigger than myself. I've always wanted to put myself in a situation where I needed others and they needed me. So I've always studied these organizations that managed to achieve over and over again that which all other organizations say they want to do. And one of the most fascinating organizations to study is the New Zealand All Blacks. They are perhaps the most successful professional sports organization in the history of organized professional sports. And as I dug deeply into that and read books about them, learned from them, watched them, what I realized is, as we talked about in discipline, they did less. There was a reduction in what they did rather than more. They effectively have these 15 rules that everybody lives by. In order to be a part of the All Blacks, you have to subscribe to and adhere to these 15 things. And all of these 15 things really are designed to reduce the self and increase your relevance to the mission that everybody says they want to do. That's what I love about the football season we're in right now. At the beginning of the NFL, there's 32 teams that are all saying the same stuff. And as we move through October and into November, into December, and into January, we're going to see who means what they say. We're going to see who can subscribe to those things that let you achieve what everybody says they want to achieve. And we can study the All Blacks because they do that as good or better than anybody else, as evidenced by output. So as we unpack the kind of the components that make the All Blacks, let's look through these 15 fundamentals. One of them, and perhaps one of my favorites, is sweep the sheds. Sweep the sheds is really all about personal responsibility. And it's put personal responsibility into action. You know, I've been a part of really amazing sports teams, and one of the things that you didn't even think about, it doesn't occur to you, is to clean up after yourself after a game. And it's not that you don't care. It's not that you don't think it's important. It's not that you don't think that these things matter. It's just never been part of what you expect of yourself unless you're part of the New Zealand All Blacks. New Zealand All Blacks are famous for cleaning up after themselves after every game. They've just got done playing in this physically brutal and exhausting game, but they preserve enough energy to clean up after themselves. Sweep the sheds is about understanding that you're not a victim. Most every hard thing that you're doing, you elected to do. And if you're doing a hard thing and it's hard, you shouldn't be surprised, and it doesn't become anybody else's job to take care of ourselves, right? We take care of ourselves and we take care of others, fundamentally. One of the other pillars is go for the gap. When you're on top of your game, change your game. The reality is if you're setting pace, everyone's trying to take you down. In order to take you down, they're studying what you do. The worst thing you could do if you're on top and everybody's trying to take you down is not change how you're doing it. You're giving people the playbook for how to beat you. The greatest organizations that consistently produce championships over and over because they tweak, they fine-tune, they innovate at incremental levels. So once you think you got me, you do what you think you can do to beat me, you realize I've developed this thing that you didn't know I could do yet, right? This really harkens back to curiosity. For me as a talent aggregator, curiosity is one of the most important things for me. If you're not curious, here's what you're telling me. You're telling me that you're perfect or you're done. And you can't be perfect. So now you're a liar or you're lazy. And I don't know which one of those two is worse. Probably being a liar. Being a lazy is right behind it, right? When you're on top of your game, change your game. If the best you could do is what you just did, all I got to do is do a little bit better than that to beat you. And all great organizations, all great championships, all great champions know that they got to evolve, they got to grow, they got to change, and they can do it incrementally and keep the belt for as long as they want to. So one of the things the All Blacks do, and one of the things every great organization I've ever been a part of knows, is they know why they exist. Understanding your purpose, understanding foundationally why you're doing what you're doing, what that does is that sets your Alamo. Right now we're recording this in the state of Texas. In the state of Texas, there's a famous battle memorial where effectively all Texas said, hey, this and no further. We're not going any further than this. This is our last stand. In ancient Thermopylae, it was the Phocian wall. It was the this and no further line. Your purpose sets the low water mark. It's the this and no further, the absolute, here I will fall, here I will stand. Your purpose is the line in the sand that your heart and your head are not willing to go past. And often it comes down to that. Often it comes down to those darkest, hardest, longest hours where you just got to remember why you started doing the hard thing. And a lot of times in really stiff, deep competition and hard battle, is the person who can remember why they started fighting in the first place that can make it. Because when you're stripped away of everything but your purpose, the one with a purpose stays. And the one without a purpose, they fade into history, soon to be forgotten by all. You know, when I was growing up in Texas, rugby wasn't a really big sport. It wasn't until I went to the Naval Academy and watched our rugby team play that I began to fall in love with the sport. The dynamic nature of it, the fluidity of it, how it's always going. It's in perpetual movement. And one of the things I love the most is the longer someone kept the ball, the more likely they were to lose. All of rugby is about moving that ball in parallel as fast as you can, holding it for as long as you can steward it, then getting out of your hands as quickly as possible. The team that can do that the best typically win. That is very much like life. And in a lot of ways, it was very different than football. And leaders fundamentally know that they got to get the ball to someone else's hands. As a platoon commander, I had all the hard skills that a lot of our guys had, but not to the degree and intensity and skill that they did, because my job wasn't to do it. My job was to be able to do it in the event that they couldn't, but my job was to surround myself with people better than me and unleash them on the problem where they were uniquely gifted to solve the problem. If you're doing anything by yourself, you can only go as far as one person can take you, and one person can't take you very far. But when you align yourself with others who are differently gifted but equally convicted, and you get the ball to them when they need it, you'd be amazed what you can do. One of the other things the All Blacks do is they create a learning environment. They say that leaders are learners and teachers. I would echo this. I would agree with this with every championship organization I've been a part of, every elite organization I'm a part of, and even what I try to do now. I set this expectation of curiosity. If the best I get from you is the best you gave me yesterday, then if I go further, you're done there. You can't go any further because you're done. For me, curiosity is an energy, it's a passion, it's a desire to see just how far you can go and who's willing to go this far with you. I have this real simple system called chase, pace, and pull. And what that means is I'm usually chasing someone who's doing something the way I want to do it or doing things I never thought possible for me. Then I've got pace. I'm keeping pace with people who mean what they say as much as I mean what I say. Then I'm pulling. I think at the end of the day, you got to pull someone behind you that's going to be so good that everybody forgets you. Because if you don't do that, you're going to have to keep doing this for longer than you love it or longer than you're good at it. And both of those will be a disservice to this thing you said you loved once upon a time, right? And so to create an environment where it's an expectation of curiosity, an expectation to be excited about what today is going to reveal to you, it's contagious. One of the things we talk about is if you're young, curiosity is a creator. It's going to create something that you're proud of. If you're in the middle of your career, curiosity is a catalyst. Whatever that next thing is, curiosity is going to get you there faster than anything else. And if you're senior in your career, curiosity is a complacency killer. And complacency is a killer. Curiosity and complacency are incompatible. And when you're curious, you reject complacency and you reject making mistakes. If you look at the supply chain of disaster, most of the time, complacency is in that cocktail of disaster. But not only that, as a leader, when you remain curious, not only do you reject complacency and increase your performance, but you attract people that want to have a catalyst. They want to get as good as they can be, as fast as they can be. And you attract people that want to create something that they're proud of. And that is a great day at work, school, or home. So a great consistent rule in every great organization or championship team I've been a part of is shared by the All Blacks. And without using their exact terminology, effectively what it means is no jerks. Why no jerks? Here's the deal. Competing is all about energy. It's all about conserving energy, deploying energy, exactly when and how, and as long as you need to. And maintaining the presence of someone that takes you more energy than they deserve depletes the resources. I've never found someone that was so good at what they do that I had to tolerate being around someone that I couldn't stand. I'm going to find the person who's just as good or better than you that I actually enjoy being around, and I'm going to go with them because I don't have enough energy to do the work and put up with you. It's an absolute rule. One of the things I tell people that have a lot of problems with people is like, listen, if you have a lot of problems with people, you're probably the problem. In my experience, people are jerks for one of three reasons. They're afraid. There's some seed of fear in there that's causing them to act like you do when you're afraid. Protect yourself, build these hedges of protecting around yourself, not let anybody get too close to you. They're in agony. Hurt people. It's just a byproduct. There's great dogs that we see all the time, and they're biting you and they're trying to hurt you until you liberate them from the pain that they're dealing with. People are never the best version of themselves when they're in tremendous pain. And so they're either afraid, they're in agony, or they're arrogant. And I find no excuse for arrogance. As a matter of fact, the highest I've gone and the most amazing people I've been around, arrogance is the one thing that's stunningly absent from the room. No one's good enough to think that highly of themselves. there's someone that's better than you that doesn't think that highly of themselves, that I'm happy to be around. And we'll go do great things. And we'll have much to be arrogant about, and none of us will be. No jerks. Another foundation to the All Black success and their history of success, as with any other champion organizations, they're not surprised by success. There's an expectation of it, right? The thing about aiming low is you'll almost always get there and the view is underwhelming, right? But aiming high, aiming to the high places, even if you don't hit those high places, you're still higher than everybody else. I've always been known as just having extraordinary expectations, setting goals that are sometimes laughable. When I was in 8th grade and told everybody I was going to play in the NFL and I was going to be a Navy SEAL, but I was the 5th string fullback and there were 3 other fullbacks, they were rightly skeptical, but I knew where I was going. And what I also knew is if I somehow didn't manage to make those, I'd be further along than any low goal I set for myself, right? The worst thing we can do for ourselves is set low goals and then achieve them. And then believe that that's all we're capable of doing. The All Blacks, Tom Brady, astronauts, fighter pilots, they don't do those things because they're aiming low. They're aiming high.